Good day, everyone. The topic that we are going to discuss is all about tertiary education. Tertiary education refers to all the formal post-secondary education, including the public and the private universities, colleges, technical training institutes, and vocational schools. Tertiary education is instrumental in fostering growth, reducing poverty, and boosting shared prosperity. Today, my topic is about salient features of Republic Act 7722 of the Higher Education Act of 1994. This is the history background of my topic. The Commission on Higher Education, or CHED, was created on May 18, 1994 to the passage of Republic Act No. 7722 or the Higher Education Act of 1994. CHED, an attached agency to the Office of the President for the administrative purposes, is headed by the chairperson and the four commissioners, each having a term of office of 4 years. The Commission and Bank acts as a collegial body in formulating plans, policies, and strategies relating to higher education and the operation of CHED. The creation of CHED was a part of a broad agenda of reforms on the country's education system outlined by the Congressional Commission on Education, or EDCOM, in 1992. Parts of the reform was a trifocalization of the education sector in the three governing bodies: the CHED for tertiary and graduate education, the Department of Education, or DepEd, for the basic education, and the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority, or TESDA, for the technical, vocational, and the middle level education. What is Republic Act 7722 or the Higher Education Act of 1994? It is an act that creating the Commission on Higher Education, appropriating funds for the other purposes. This law separates colleges and universities from the Department of Education, providing its own independence, having the right to practice academic freedom and exercise such policies granted for its benefit. What is the other name of Republic Act No. 7722? On May 18, 1994, CHED was established through Republic Act No. 7722, otherwise known as the Higher Education Act 1994. What is the importance of Republic Act No. 7722? 7722, otherwise known as the Higher Education Act of 1994, which was signed into law on May 18, 1994. The creation of the Commission abolished the Bureau of Higher Education and confined the jurisdiction of the Department of Education, or DepEd, to the elementary and the secondary level of education. Republic Act 7722, otherwise known as the Higher Education Act of 1994, it was signed into law by President Fidel Valdez Ramos on May 18, 1994. The creation of CHED was a part of a broad agenda for reforms in the country's education system outlined by the Congressional Commission on Education, or EDCOM, in 1992. Who is the author of Republic Act 7722? Higher Education Act of 1994, which was authored by Senator Francisco Tatad. The creation of CHED was a part of a broad agenda for reforms in the country's education system outlined by the Congressional Commission on Education, or EDCOM, in 1992. What higher education is as contemplated under Republic Act 7722? Its coverage shall be both public and a private institution of higher education, as well as degree-granting program in all post-secondary educational institutions, public and private. What is Republic Act No. 7722 at the role of this provision to our community and to all mankind? The state shall protect, fosters, and promote the higher of all citizens to affordable quality education at all levels and shall take appropriate steps to ensure the education shall be accessible to all. In what section of Republic Act 7722 that talks about the composition of the Commission? Its coverage shall be both public and private institutions of higher education, as well as a degree-granting program in all post-secondary education, public and private. Section 4 of Republic Act 7722, the composition of the Commission. The Commission shall compose of 5 full-time members during the transition period, which begin upon approval of this Act. The President may appoint the Secretary of Education, Cultures, and Sports as ex officio chairman of the Commission for a maximum period of 1 year. Thereafter, the President shall appoint the chairman of the commission and 4 commissioners who shall be holder and earns doctorates who had been actively engaged in the higher education for at least 10 years and must not have been candidates for the elective program position in the election and immediately preceding their appointment. They shall be academians known for their high degree of professionalism and integrity who have distinguished themselves as an authorities in the chosen field of learning. The members of the commission shall belong to the different academic specializations.
Report for today is about CHED organizational structure. Let's start with the Office of the Chairperson and Commissioners. Dr. J. Prospero Popoy de Vera III currently holds the positions of Chairperson of the Commission on Higher Education, or CHED, Advisor of the Philippine Negotiating Panel with the National Democratic Front, or Communist Party of the Philippines, and New People's Army, and Commissioner of United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, or UNESCO. He is a professor of public administration at the University of the Philippines and served as its vice president for public affairs from 2011 to 2016. Dr. De Vera is an academician who has used his technical expertise to help policymakers educate the public, and run political campaigns. His areas of policy expertise cover higher education, agricultural, indigenous communities, environment and climate change, good governance, and local governments. Dr. Ronald L. Adamat is the second appointee of President Rodrigo Roa Duterte to sit as Commissioner of the Commission on Higher Education, or CHED, effective December 9, 2016. As CHED Commissioner, Dr. Adamat's advocacies include federalism, indigenous people studies, peace and development, agriculture, and good governance, among others. In 2019, he was responsible for the adoption of the CHED Memorandum Order Numbers 1, Series of 2019, Integration of Peace Studies, Education into the Relevant Higher Education Curricula, and CHED Memorandum Order Number 2, Series of 2019, Integration of Indigenous People Studies, Education into the Relevant Higher Education Curricula. Commissioner Dr. Aldrin Arenas Darilag, CHRP RMT RN, serves the Commission by progressively leading the advancement of a wide array of relevant and timely disciplines in higher education. This is exemplified through his work as the Oversight Commissioner for Teacher Education and Teacher Quality, Gender and Development, extension programs for state universities and colleges, and the Southeast Asian Regional Center for Tropical Biology, or CMEU Biotroop, and as a champion for futures thinking and cultural education. Commissioner Darilag is grounded in his beliefs that progressive advancements in higher education can be achieved by holistically supporting higher institutions to be of service to faculty and students, by reflecting on previous policies and experiences, by collaborating with agencies both public and private, local and international, and by having a more refined foresight to prepare students regardless of ethnicity, gender, socio-economic status, and religion for the world of tomorrow. Next is Dr. Marita Rana Canapi, joined the Commission on Higher Education in February 2022. She brings with her long years of rich engagement in higher education, as well as her wisdom in educational leadership and desire for quality and excellence in schools. Then, Dr. Ju Mark M. Libre is President Rodrigo Roa Duterte's newest appointee to the Commission on Higher Education as Commissioner effective February 2022. As a university scholar, Commissioner Libre received his Bachelor of Arts degree in Political Science from Ateneo de Davao University. He was then awarded a Commission on Higher Education scholarship to pursue his Master of Arts degree in Political Science with a major in Global Politics at Ateneo de Manila University. He also took Master of Public Administration at the University of Science and Technology of Southern Philippines. Commissioner Libre received his Doctor of Public Administration from Ateneo de Cagayan Xavier University. Currently, he is completing his Juris Doctor or Bachelor of Laws studies at the Jose Maria College Foundation Incorporated College of Law in Davao City. Next is Higher Education Development Fund staff. Intended to make CHED more readily responsive to the needs of its constituencies, especially the higher education institutions and their development programs, the Higher Education Development Fund was envisioned to be an autonomous buffer fund that can support CHED's fiscal independence and adequacy under the leadership or office of the Director of Attorney Christian E. Rivero, Director 3. Next is the International Affairs Staff or IAS. The International Affairs Staff is the high-level technical secretariat that ably assists the CHED chairperson in the implementation of educational matters involving other countries and international education organizations. This unit shall be responsible for coordinating and harmonizing on behalf of the chair and/or the executive director all the international dimensions of CHED work that emanate from the respective mandates of the Commission's organic units. With 3 units, the Educational Agreements and International Recognition Unit, Trade and Education Services Unit, and Protocol Affairs Unit. From the Office of the Director by Attorney Lily Freda C. Macabangon Das Mela, CISO 4, Director 4. Office of the Executive Director. The Office of the Executive Director consists of the Executive Director, the Deputy Executive Director, and the staff. It serves as head of the Commission Secretariat and is charged with overseeing the overall implementation and operations of the CHED central and regional offices. Pivotal to the successful implementation of the higher education reform agenda. This is under the Office of the Executive Director with Attorney Cinderella Filipina Binetes Haro, Executive Director 4, and under Attorney Lily Freda C. Macabangon Mela, CISO 4, Officer in Charge, Office of the Deputy Executive Director 4. In Administrative, Financial, and Management Service, the Administrative, Financial, and Management Service provides the core of CHED's operational service requirements covering human resource management, budgetary allocations, accounting and audit procedure, record-keeping functions, and general services, and is tasked to effectively provide the critical support system for the aforementioned operational, financial, and administrative requirements. The diverse magnitude and complex aspect of personnel and funds management require the presence of 4 divisions, namely the Budget Division, the Accounting Division, the Human Resource Management Division with 2 units, and the General Services Division with 4 units. This is under the Office of the Director with Dr. Rogelio T. Galera Jr., Director 4. From Legal and Legislative Service. The Legal and Legislative Service is the Commission's prime office to provide the range of legal and legislative services to support its trust in becoming a world-class agency fully capable of catapulting the country's higher education agenda in the regional and global sphere. It is principally responsible for investigating complaints on non-compliant programs of HEIS, effectively implementing the sanctions imposed by the Commission in bank, example, phase out, closure, downgrading of status, imposition of fines, among others. Pursuant to its mandate under Republic Act 7722, and provide a mechanism for effective mediation services on numerous and myriad complaints regarding academic and other issues brought before the Commission. Under this office are two divisions: the Investigation and Enforcement Division, with Sub-Investigation Section and Enforcement Section, and the Legislative Liaison and Mediation Office, with the leadership of Attorney Frederick Michael Farolan, Director 4. From the Office of Planning, Research and Knowledge Management, or OPRKM, serving as the Commission's development planning body and chief policy formulator in the area of higher education. There are three divisions under the OPRKM: the Planning and Resource Management Division with 3 sections, the Research Management Division, and the Knowledge Management Division. This is with the Office of the Director with Dr. Mary Silvette T. Gunigondo, Officer in Charge, Office of the Director 4, and Dr. Christian Lynette C. Kasim, CC, OIC, Office of the Director 3. Office of Programs and Standards Development, or OPSD, primarily in charge of the enhancement of program quality and standards, the development of corresponding policy guidelines, and the achievement of transparency, accountability, expediency, and integrity in the formulation and enforcement of PSGS. The Office of Programs and Standards Development has 3 divisions: the Programs Development Division, the Standard Development Division, and the Non-Conventional Higher Educational Programs Division. Office of the Director with Dr. Cherry Melanie Ancheta Gigo, CISO 3, Director 4. Office of Institutional Quality Assurance and Governance. The Office of Institutional Quality Assurance and Governance focuses on issues of quality assurance, governance, and the coordination of higher education institutions. There are 2 divisions under OIQAG. First is the Quality Assurance Division and the Institutional Governance Division, from the Office of the Director with Luisa S. Valencia, CISO 4, Director 4. Office of Student Development and Services, primarily mandated to bring about an expanded and enhanced career and life opportunities for students in line with the constitutional provision on the vital role of the youth in nation building, the promotion of and protection of their physical, moral, spiritual, intellectual, and social well-being, as well as the inculcation of patriotism, nationalism, and encouragement of their involvement in public and civic affairs. The Office of Student Development and Services has the following mandates: in terms of policy, program development, and technical assistance, for monitoring and evaluation in line with Student Development and Services Information System for program advocacy. With these responsibilities, the OSDS has two divisions: the Local Student Affairs Division with 2 units and the International Student Affairs Division. This is from the Office of the Director with Dr. Marivic V. Eriberi, OIC Office of the Director for Regional Offices. The regional offices are the dynamic and empowered frontline organic units of CHED that adhere to the highest principles of good governance, accountability, transparency, and efficient service to the stakeholders of higher education, with the most crucial role to the CHEDROS play in the implementation of the policies and programs of the Commission and in higher education reform.
CHED Policy on School Accreditation and Accreditation Associations. Revised policies and guidelines on voluntary accreditation in aid of quality and excellence in higher education. In accordance with the pertinent provisions of Republic Act No. 7722, otherwise known as the Higher Education Act of 1994, the Commission on Higher Education hereby promulgates the revised policies and guidelines on voluntary accreditation in aid of quality and excellence in higher education for the information and guidance of all concerned. Article 1 Statement of Policies. Number 1. It is declared policy of the state to encourage and assist through the Commission on higher education institutions which desire to attain standards of quality over and above the minimum required by the state. Number 2, for this purpose, the CHED encourages the use of voluntary non-governmental accreditation systems in aid of the exercise of each regulatory functions. The CHED will promote a policy environment which supports the accreditation's non-governmental and voluntary character and protects the integrity of the accreditation process. Number 3, the CHED acknowledges the pioneering work and efforts of the accrediting agencies now federated under the Federation of Accrediting Agencies of the Philippines, namely the Association of Christian Schools, Colleges and Universities Accrediting Agency, Incorporated, the Philippine Accrediting Association of Schools, Colleges and Universities, and the Philippine Association of Colleges and Universities Commission on Accreditation. Number 4, further, the CHED acknowledges the existence of the National Network of Quality Accrediting Agencies, now made up of Accrediting Agency of Chartered Colleges and Universities of the Philippines and the Association of Local Colleges and Universities Commission on Accreditation. 5. The CHED shall authorize federations, networks of accrediting agencies, which shall certify to CHED the accredited status of programs, institutions granted by their member accrediting agencies and in accordance with their own standards, as accepted by the CHED for granting benefits to institutions, programs at various accredited levels, and as contained in Article No. 5 of this CHED Memorandum Order. 6. The CHED shall recognize one federation network largely serving the public sector educational institutions and one for the private sector educational institutions, without restricting the freedom of any educational institutions, public or private, to choose an accrediting agency for various educational programs which may belong to either federation network. 7. The CHED demands responsibility and accountability from federations or networks for their certification of the quality of education offered in accredited programs institutions. Next, Article 2, Institutional and Program Accreditation. Accreditation is a process for assessing and upgrading the educational quality of higher education institutions and programs through self-evaluation and peer judgment. It leads to the grant of accredited status by an accrediting agency and provides public recognition and information on educational quality. Program accreditation refers to the evaluation of individual programs of a higher education institution. Institutional accreditation refers to the evaluation of a whole educational institutions of which the guidelines and standards shall be formulated in collaboration with the existing federations networks of accrediting agencies to be approved by CHED. Article 3. Federations Networks of Accrediting Agencies. Accrediting agencies shall join either of the above-mentioned federations networks. The federation network must have procedures and guidelines in accepting accrediting agencies as members, following this CHED Memorandum Order. Number 2. Federations networks of accrediting agencies shall have the following functions. A. Accept and recognize each member accrediting agencies. The applicant accrediting agency must be required to have the following: standards for accreditation which are adequately rigorous, competitive, and reflect current acceptable practice. Appropriate survey and assessment instruments and processes. Effective mechanism for assessing compliance of programs institution with its own standards. Policies and procedures for the grant, suspensions, or revocation of accredited status of programs institutions in accordance with the Federation Network policies and procedures. Furthermore, the accrediting agency shall submit required annual reports and documents to the Federation's network. B. Monitor the operations of member agencies, including their processes and procedures, and training and selection of accreditors. C. Certify to CHED the accreditation status of programs institutions accredited by each member's agencies. D. Assure the comparability of standards of member accrediting agencies. E. Upgrade and update standards, procedures, and criteria for accreditation. F. Contribute to quality education through the enhancements and development of the accreditation movement. G. Establish procedures for addressing compliance by higher education institutions regarding procedures and processes of accrediting agencies. H. Maintain a valid and reliable data management and analysis system relating to their member accrediting agencies. I. Submit annual reports to CHED on each operations, especially programs institutions accredited. Number 3. Federations networks seeking CHED recognition should show evidence acceptable to CHED that they are able to undertake the functions as indicated in Article 3, Section 2 of this CHED Memorandum Order. A. Federations networks seeking recognition shall submit application to CHED and should include the following: 1. SEC registration, articles of incorporation, and approved by laws. 2. Listing of officers and members of the governing board. 3. Board resolution authorizing the submission of application for CHED recognition. 4. Short history of the organization and its works. 5. Listing of the member accrediting agencies. 6. Description of accreditation process as done by member agencies. 7. Full set of accreditation instruments used by each member agencies. 8. Sample self-evaluation reports and sample of chairman's report of actual survey. 9. Description of training processes and procedures of accreditors of each member agencies. 10. If a network federation is new and has not functioned yet, it should submit documentations to show CHED that it is able to do functions. B. Within 2 months from application and submission of all the required documents, CHED for valid reasons may grant provisional recognition to federation network subject to annual review. C. The federation's networks recognized by CHED shall be subject to periodic review every 5 years and after recognition or as the need arises. D. Federations networks found not conforming with the policies and guidelines of this CHED Memorandum Order shall be required by CHED to comply within 6 months after notification. E. After due process is observed, CHED may limit, suspend, or withdraw recognition of a federation network. Article 4. Accreditation levels for program accreditation. 1. For purposes of receiving benefits, educational programs are classified as candidate and one of 4 accredited levels. A. Candidate status. For a program which have undergone a preliminary survey visit are certified by the Federation Network as being capable of acquiring accredited status within 2 years. B. Level 1 accredited status. for programs which have been granted initial accreditation after a formal survey by the accrediting agency and duly certified by the Accreditation Federation Network effective for a period of 3 years. C. Level 2 Re-accredited status for programs which have been re-accredited by the accrediting agency and duly certified by the Accreditation Federation Network effective for a period of 3 or 5 years based on the appraisal of the accrediting agency. D. Level 3 Re-accredited status for programs which have been re-accredited and have met the additional criteria guidelines set by the Federation Network for this level. Level 3 Re-accredited undergraduate programs must satisfy the first 2 of the following criteria and 2 others of the succeeding ones. A reasonably high standard of instruction. 2. A highly visible community extension program. A description of the programs, the nature and extent of student, faculty, and staff involvement, and other details shall be required documentation for this indicator. Number 3. A highly visible research tradition. The following must be observable over a reasonable period of time. Provision for a reasonable budget, quality of completed outputs, measurable results such as publication, etc., involvement of a significant number of faculty members, visible, tangible, and measurable impact on the community. 4. A strong faculty development tradition evidenced by an appropriate budget allocation and or systematic plan for faculty development programs. 5. A highly creditable performance of each graduate in licensure examinations over the last 3 years. 6. Existence of working consortia or linkages with other schools and or agencies. Documentary evidence shall include a description of the nature, mechanism, working agreements, and other details of consortia. 7. Extensive and functional library and other learning resource facilities. Level 3 accredited graduate programs must satisfy 1 and 3 and any 2 of 2, 4, 5, 6, and 7. The institution should submit pictorial and documentary evidence to support its claims. Only programs that have been granted clean re-accreditation, meaning that no progress report or interim visit is required within the 5-year accreditation period, may apply for Level 3 status. Letter E. Level 4 accredited status. Accredited programs which are highly respected as very high-quality academic programs in the Philippines and with prestige and authority comparable to similar programs in excellent foreign universities. These programs must have met the following additional criteria guidelines. Excellent outcomes in research as seen in the number, scope, and impact of scholarly publications in referred national and international journals. Teaching and learning as proven and excellent performance of graduates and continuing assessment of student achievement. Community service and the impact of contributions to the economic and social upliftment on both regional and national levels. Evidence of international linkages and consortia. Well-developed planning processes which support quality assurance mechanisms. Higher education institutions should provide adequate documentation in support of application for Level 4 accredited status. Article 5. Benefits for program accreditation. The following benefits for the different accreditation levels shall be provided. A. For private sector institutions. Level 1, Level 2. 1. Full administrative deregulation provided that reports of promotion of students and list of graduates are available for review by CHED at all times. 2. Financial deregulation in terms of setting of tuition and other school fees and charges. 3. Authority to revise the curriculum without CHED approval provided that CHED and Professional Regulation Commission minimum requirements and guidelines, where applicable, are complied with and the revised curriculum is submitted to CHED regional offices. 4. Authority to graduate students from accredited courses or programs of study in the levels accredited without prior approval of the CHED and without need for special orders. 5. Priority in the awards of grants, subsidies, or funding assistance from Higher Education Development Fund for scholarships and faculty development, facilities improvement, and other development programs. 6. Right to use on each publications or advertisements the word accredited pursuant to CHED policies and rules. 7. Limited visitation, inspection, and or supervision by CHED supervisory personnel or representatives. Next, Level 3. 1. All the benefits for Level 1 and 2. 2. Authority to offer new courses allied to existing Level 3 courses without need for prior approval, provided that the concerned CHED regional office is duly informed. 3. Privilege to apply for authority to offer new graduate programs, open learning, distance education, extension classes, and to participate in the transnational education. Next, Level 4. All the benefits for Levels 1, 2, and 3. Grant of full autonomy for the program for the duration of each Level 4 accredited status. Authority to offer new graduate programs allied to existing Level 4 courses, open learning, distance education, and extension classes without need for prior approval by CHED, provided that the concerned CHEDRO is duly informed. B. For public sector institutions. A. Though public sector's institutions already possess most if not all of the benefits related to curricular and administrative deregulation granted to private sector institutions at various accreditation levels, accreditation level will be used by the CHED and Department of Budget and Management in recommending budgetary allocation for public sector institutions. B. As for accredited private sector institutions, accredited public sector institutions shall also enjoy priority in terms of available funding assistance from CHED for scholarships and faculty development, facilities improvement, and other development programs. Right to use on each publications or advertisements the word accredited pursuant to CHED policies and rules.
The legal basis of the practice of the teaching profession. We have the Article 14 of the 1987 Republic of the Philippines Constitution, Republic Act 4670, Republic Act 7836, Republic Act 9293, Batas Pambansa 232, Republic Act 10533, the Code of Ethics for Professional Teachers. Article 14 of the 1987 Republic of the Philippines Constitution is the education, science and technology, arts, culture, and sports. In education, we have the Section 1, a commitment to build a nation with functionally literate, educated, and productive citizens. Section 2, it elucidates the function of the states to develop an education system that focuses on formal education, non-formal education, alternative learning system, and indigenous learning system. Section 3, to provides a framework for enduring values, knowledge, and skill that need to be emphasized in all the content of the curriculum. Section 4 provides guidelines in the establishment and management of educational institutions in the country. Section 5, it enshrines the spirit of academic freedom for tertiary education, the right of citizens to choose their professional advancement, and putting highest budgetary support to education. Languages, we have the Section 6 to Section 9 focuses on the development and promotion of Filipino as the national language and as a medium of instruction. This section also recognizes the importance of other local and foreign languages. Science and Technology. Section 10 to Section 13 focuses on the importance and promotion of science and technology in the Philippines. Arts and Culture. Section 14 to Section 18 discuss the development and promotion of Filipino culture that includes various cultural practices, traditions, beliefs, and indigenous knowledge of the different cultural groups and religion in the country. Sports. In Section 19, it provides the framework for promoting and developing sports programs for the well-being of the Filipino people. Next is Republic Act 4670, otherwise known as the Magna Carta for Public School Teachers. This act shall be known as the Magna Carta for Public School Teachers and shall apply to all public school teachers except those in the professorial staff of state colleges and universities. As used in this act, the term teacher shall mean all persons engaged in classroom teaching in any level of instruction on full-time basis, including guidance counselors, school librarians, industrial arts or vocational instructors, and all other persons performing supervisory and or administrative functions in all schools, colleges, and universities operated by the government or its political subdivisions, but shall not include school nurses, school physicians, school dentists, and other school employees. Republic Act 7836. President Ferdinand E. Marcos issued Presidential Decree 1006 on September 22, 1976 that formally organized the National Board for Teachers. All teachers then have to take the Professional Board Exam for Teachers, otherwise known as PBET. On December 16, 1994, through the enacted of Republic Act 7836, a law entitled An Act to Strengthen the Regulation and Supervision of the Practice of Teaching in the Philippines and prescribing a licensure examination for other purposes, otherwise known as Philippine Teacher Professionalization Act of 1994. Republic Act 7836 includes the supervision and regulation of the licensure examination for teachers or LET. It covers all teachers in all levels of education from preschool to secondary. Republic Act 9293. This law is amendment of the certain section or Republic Act 7836, otherwise known as the Philippine Teachers Professionalization Act of 1994. The Congress enacted this amendment on April 21, 2004. The following amendments done. First is a Section 15E 3 of Republic Act of 7836, Section 2, Section 26 of the same Act, Section 3, Section 31 of the same Act, Section 4, reference to the term. Section 15 is the qualification requirements of applicants. Section 2 and Section 26 of the same Act is hereby amendment to read as follows. Section 26, registration and exception. No person shall engage in teaching and or act as a professional teacher as defined in this Act. Upon approval of the application and payments of the prescribed fees, the certificate of registration and professional license as a professional teacher shall be issued without examination as required in this Act qualified applicant. Number 5 is Batas Pambansa 232, known as the Education Act of 1982. It was signed into law by President Ferdinand E. Marcos. Section 10, 11, and 16 of this law are helpful understanding the rights and duties of teachers. Section 10, Rights of all school personnel. Section 11, Special rights and or privileges of teaching or academic staff. Section 16, Teachers' obligation. Republic Act No. 10533 or Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2013. This act shall be known as the Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2013. The state shall create a functional basic education system that will develop productive and responsible citizens equipped with the essential competences, skills, and values for both lifelong learning and employment. Section 3 is the basic education. Section 4 is enhanced basic education program. Section 5, curriculum development. The last one is the code of ethics for professional teachers. Scope and limitation. Section 1. The Philippine Constitution provides that all educational institutions shall offer quality education for all competent teachers. Committed to its full realization, the provision of this code shall apply, therefore, to all teachers in schools in the Philippines. Section 2. The code covers all public and private school teachers in all educational institutions at the preschool, primary, elementary, and secondary levels, whether academic, vocational, special, technical, or non-formal. Article 2. The teacher and the state. Article 3. The teacher and the community. Article 4. The teacher and the profession. Article 5. The teacher and the teaching community. Article 6. The teacher and the higher authority in the profession. Article 7. School officials, teachers, and other personnel. Article 8. The teacher and learners. Article 9. The teacher and parents. Article 10. The teacher and business. Article 11. The teacher as a person.
Good day, everyone. I am about to discuss to you the nature and concept of academic freedom. Academic freedom, defined as freedom to teach or communicate ideas or facts without being targeted for repression, job loss, or imprisonment. It is also defined as freedom to teach and do research without constraint to discover and promulgate new ideas. It is a belief that academic freedom is the freedom of teachers and students to teach, study, and pursue knowledge and research without unreasonable interference or restriction from law, institutional regulations, or public pressure. Academic freedom covers individuals and institutions. Included within this concept is protecting the right of universities and colleges to engage in all aspects of intellectual activity and the faculty's autonomy in deciding what and how to teach and what research to conduct and publish. It aspires to promote the free exchange of ideas, scholarly debates, and the search for knowledge. Now, let us find out what is the origin of academic freedom. The roots of academic freedom could be traced to the 19th century German idea contained in two terms. First one is the term Lehrfreiheit and the other one is Lehrfreiheit. Lehrfreiheit refers to the view that the university is likened to a market except that it is free market of ideas. In this market, the students are free to roam from place to place, sampling academic wares. To be free to determine the choice and sequence of courses. Responsible to no one for regular attendance. And exempted from tests save the final examination. While the Lehrfreiheit refers to the right of the German professors to do independent research. They could determine the content of their lectures and publish their research findings. He is also entitled to report his findings to his student. He is even free to convince and persuade others to think the way he thinks, without either seeking prior approval or criticism by the state or the church. The origin of academic freedom born out of the German university tradition. In those times, the academic community was set apart from the general community. Those within the academic community were the only ones entitled to enjoy academic freedom. It was not to be enjoyed by those outside the four walls of the academy. German academic community was characterized as autocratic, where every member is bound to be circumspect and be loyal. The American society adhered to the tradition of freedom of speech and enjoyment of basic inalienable rights as guaranteed by the U.S. Constitution. American universities and colleges in the U.S. accept the concept of in loco parentis and professional neutrality. The term in loco parentis, Latin for in place of parent, refers to the legal responsibility of a person or organization to take on some of the functions and responsibilities of a parent. The Philippines, whose educational system is an exact replica of the American system, adopted the American concept and not the German concept. The 1987 Constitution of the Republic of the Philippines, Article 14, Section 5, Part 2, states that academic freedom shall be enjoyed in all institutions of higher learning. Article 14, Section 5, Part 3 states that every citizen has a right to select a profession or course of study subject to fair, reasonable, and equitable admission and academic requirements. And Section 5, Part 4, the state shall enhance the right of the teachers to professional advancement. Non-teaching academic and non-academic personnel shall enjoy the protection of the state. And Article 14, Section 1, the state shall protect and promote the right of all citizens to qualified education at all levels and shall take appropriate steps to make such education accessible to all. According to former UP Professor Carlos P. Romulo, it is the duty of board to protect the teacher of the university of his right to teach the subject according to the best of his knowledge without interference from political, authority, pressure groups, or special interest. For the administrative authorities, academic freedom means the freedom to determine who should be employed as members of the administrative staff. For teachers, researchers, and students, academic freedom means the freedom to search for the truth once found, to communicate it in writing or verbally within the confines of the institutions under reasonable restrictions by the state. Now, the importance of academic freedom. It is essential to the mission of the academy, and without protection, academic communities are repressed for their ability to shape knowledge. According to a reflection by Robert Keane, historically, the power to shape knowledge is a source of power. Authorities have sought to control societies by controlling scholars. We should care about increasing the quality and flow of information and understanding in the world. Academic freedom and scholarship promote these goals. Now, for the components of academic freedom. First is in research and publication. Academic freedom includes the liberty to conduct research and draw conclusions rooted in evidence. Academic freedom defends researchers' right to choose methodologies, draw conclusions, and assert the value of their contributions, but does not protect against critics of their claims. In teaching and learning, academic freedom includes the individual instructor's right to select course materials and content, pedagogy, make assignments, and assess students' performance. This should be relevant to the subject matter. Limits may arise where coordination among instructors for common courses requires agreement on matters of content, materials, and examinations. There are institutional constraints and concerns rooted in the religious aims of the university, which should be explicitly laid out in writing for instructors prior to appointment. The manner of instruction substantially impairs the right of others or demonstrates that the instructor is professionally ignorant, incompetent, or dishonest with regard to their discipline or fields of expertise. And in public expression, academic freedom includes the right to bring relevant expertise to the larger community with regard to any matter of social, political, economic, and other interest, and through any mode of communication, including speech, writing, and electronic media. And as experts operating in the public sphere, historians should aim to be accurate, should exercise appropriate restraint, and should show respect for the opinions of others. Thank you.
Good morning everyone, my name is Angelica J. Magapan and my report is about tertiary education. Higher education is governed by the Commission on Higher Education or CHED that was created on May 18, 1994 through the passage of Republic Act No. 7722 or the Higher Education Act of 1994. The creation of CHED was part of a broad agenda of reforms on the country's education system outlined by the Congressional Commission on Education (EDCOM) in 1992. Part of the reforms was the trifocalization of the education sector in three governing bodies: the CHED for tertiary and the graduate education, the DepEd for basic education, and the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority or TESDA for technical, vocational, and middle-level education. The Commission on Higher Education has announced that it will step up efforts to monitor substandard colleges and universities. It faces the challenge of making sure that all non-performing schools are closed and minimum qualification for faculty are monitored. It must also exhibit strong governance over state colleges and universities as well as colleges developed by local government to ensure compliance with quality education standards. Setting up schools for higher education is much more than providing infrastructure. It is about being able to produce individuals who can compete locally and globally in their chosen fields. With this, we will be able to produce a highly educated citizenry that will pave the way to progress in the country. Next is the needs of the industry. Tertiary education responds to three distinct national goals. First, it aims to educate the youth to become active and productive members of society. Second, it seeks to meet and match the industry's demand with a competent and globally competitive workforce. Finally, through the continuing effort to reach global education standards, our universities aim to increase the quality of human capital and productivity vis-a-vis national and economic progress. Active citizenship can refer to a broad number of activities, including petitioning, protesting, campaigning, voting, and volunteering for activities. One of the most important examples of active citizenship is taking part in a democratic process. Global competitiveness can be defined as a set of skills that help someone to be a productive member of their community and the world. Being globally competitive today requires developing global competence. Equipping students with hard skills to compete in a global job market is important. Human capital is said to include qualities like an employee's experience and skills. Since all labor is not considered equal, employers can improve human capital by investing in training, education, and benefits of the employees. To achieve inclusive growth, the Philippines need to develop a stronger industrial sector to create productive job opportunities for a growing labor force. Require public policy response or support specific to each product. The government needs to play an active role to help entrepreneurs take advantage of market opportunities. The top three policy reforms areas for sustaining high growth and productivity prerequisites for achieving Ambition Natin 2040 are improving market competition through regulatory reforms, improving trade and investment climate policies and regulations, and reducing labor market rigidities and costs. The Philippines needs to develop a stronger industrial base to enable the economy to walk on two legs of industry and modern services, to create productive job opportunities for growing working age population. Is there career mismatch? TESDA. As the Director General, Secretary Isidro La Peña said, a global study conducted by McKinsey Group found that the job skills mismatch is universal and affects developed, developing, and third world countries alike. He said, according to the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization's International Center for Technical and Vocational Education and Training, UNESCO, UNIVOC, there is horizontal job skills mismatch when the type of skills is not fit for the current job, and vertical when the level of skills is higher or lower than the level of skills required for a certain job, and geographical when the workers with skills are based in a place different from those where their skills are needed. This after Senator Sherwin Gatchalian called TESDA to address the persistent high rates of job skills mismatch among technical, vocational, education and training TVET graduates. The TESDA management acknowledged the occurrence of job skills mismatch among TVET graduates, even if the mismatch is not unique to this set of graduates, more so to the Philippines, La Peña said when asked for comments by the Philippine News Agency. He said, TESDA has issued Circular 042 Series of 2021 implementing guidelines on the area-based and demand-driven TVET that support the implementation of area-based and demand-driven policy directions at all levels of operation.
Employment rate in the Philippines. What is the meaning of employment rate? The employment rate is the percentage of employed person in relation to the comparable total population. Employment rates are defined as a measure of the extent to which available labor resources are being used. What is included in the employment rate? People are considered employed if they did any work at all for pay or profit during the survey reference week. This includes all part-time and temporary work, as well as regular, full-time, year-round employment. Employment rate in 2022. The country's employment rate improved in April 2022, estimated to be at 94.3% or about 45.63 million employed Filipinos. The report said the increase this year was by about 2.36 million compared to 43.27 million or 91.3% employment rate in April 2021. Employment rate in 2021. The labor force population in July 2021 was estimated at 44.90 million. This translates to a labor force participation rate of 59.4%. The total employed persons were approximately 41.67 million, registering a national employment rate of 92.8%. Underemployment person was estimated 8.78 million, resulting to underemployment rate of 21.0%. Employment rate in 2020. The labor force population in October 2020 was estimated at 43.65 million. This translates to a labor force participation rate of 58.7%. Total employment persons were approximately 39.84 million, registering a national employment rate of 91.3%. Unemployed persons were reported at 3.81 million, resulting to an employment rate of 8.7% in October 2020. Underemployment person was estimated 5.7 million, resulting to underemployment rate of 14.4%. Employment rate 2019. The labor force population October 2019 was estimated at 45.2 million. This translates to a labor force participation rate of 61.5%. Total employment persons were approximately 43.1 million, resulting to a national employment rate of 95.5%. Unemployed persons were counted at 2.1 million, which translates to an employment rate of 4.5%. Underemployment person was estimated 5.6 million, resulting to underemployment rate of 13.0%. Employment rate 2018. The total employment person in 2018 was approximately 41.2 million. Employment rate was estimated at 94.7%. The unemployed person numbered about 2.3 million, resulting to an annual employment rate of 5.3%. The underemployment person was estimated at 6.7 million persons, corresponding to an underemployment rate of 16.4%. Employment rate 2017. Total employed person was approximately 40.3 million, and the annual employment rate in 2017 was estimated at 94.3%. The unemployed persons numbered about 2.4 million, resulting to an annual employment rate of 5.7%. Estimated are 6 million persons, corresponding to an underemployment rate of 16.1%. Employment rate 2016. Employment persons were approximately 41.6 to a national employment rate of 95.3%. Underemployment person was estimated 7.5 million, resulting to underemployment rate of 18.0%.
The impact of the K-12 back on tertiary education. The K-12 program promotes global competency by accelerating mutual recognition of Filipino graduates and professionals in other countries. The new curriculum allows students to choose between three tracks, which are the academic, technical, vocational, livelihood, and the sport and arts strand. In simple terms, K-12 is a necessity to align Philippine basic education curriculum to that of the global standards by adding 2 years of senior high school to the current four-year secondary education and other year for mandated kindergarten. This, as planned, will push through the coming school year. While many have touted on its impact to the basic education curriculum, to the economy, and to our bid in synchronizing our educational system to world standards, rare is the discussion on its impact to tertiary education. The urgent challenge that administrators need to think about is how to cushion the impact of this new cycle to enrollment. But of high importance is the evaluation and re-engineering of the curriculum to address the changes in the cycle. The aims of the enhanced K-12 or K-642 have positive implications to improve the education that every Filipino student should get. College educators could at least could attest to the fact of the lack of preparation that high school graduates receive when they enter college. Because basic education is free in the Philippines, this should not actually harm the many poor families in the country. What should everyone be aware about is the government should take every course available to guarantee that it meets the reported needs of the Department of Education for rooms, teachers, facilities, and trainings. It should ensure that education gets its recommended 6% budget allocation as the UNESCO sees it fit. The government will require completion of the 12-year basic education cycle on entry to college by AY or school year 2018 to 2019. The urgent challenge then should be an opportunity for colleges and universities to innovate and reinvent while addressing the impact on student enrollment. Since the rationale for implementing the K-12 system cycle is to align our standards of education to that of what is globally accepted, then higher education institutions will have to take a proactive stance to this change. The Philippine economy is much dependent on international labor and the remittance of migrant workers. Everyone just seemed to want a job abroad, but with the Bologna Accord to be in full swing starting 2010, the chances for the Filipino workers to integrate in international labor becomes lean, particularly in Europe and North America. This is a situation that should also be addressed, and this becomes an opportunity for colleges and universities to offer pre-baccalaureate programs to provide students additional years of education. These programs that will be offered should guarantee students employable competencies or entrepreneurial know-how that can ensure them livelihood if they wish not to pursue a college degree. A proactive strategy that private colleges and universities will have to do is to give the last three batches of graduates from the old education cycle options to take a pre-baccalaureate, international baccalaureate, or associate degrees for 2 years before they take the four-year degree course. In this attempt, general education teachers will have to design academic programs and re-engineer their existing programs for the change. Apparently, private higher education institutions are oblivious of what to do because the Commission on Higher Education has not laid its plans yet or provide the HIS on an outline of the college education curriculum. The Deputy Secretary, Brother Armin Luistro, or FSC Secretary, says that one impact of K-12 implementation is higher enrollment because the subjects will be downsized and some others will have to be taken in high school. This projection contradicts what K-12 is supposed to provide Filipino students in terms of giving them the education that is comparable to global standards. A college graduate from the Philippines is short of qualifications in other countries because of the 10-year cycle we have for basic education. Our degree programs in colleges are almost patterned to world standards. Hence, cutting down on the subjects or reducing the length of college education will result to the same dilemma. There may be subjects that will be taken in high school from the present college curriculum. The challenge now is to offer more vital subjects for the college students, advancing their knowledge, skills to be better off when they start their career. The expected impact of K-12 on HEIS will be probably felt 4 years from now, but as informed individuals, the academe has to set its course action by now. With strategic actions from HEIS, the impact of K-12 implementation will be cushioned. Now, what teachers from basic and secondary education should be reflecting about is how to make these 12 years of education meaningful and fruitful. The hopes of those kids who walk a long road to get some education should never be failed in those longer years of travail.